Girl, you know you need to call me. All right, I love you. Bye.
Hey family, welcome to Call Me When You Make It. I'm Jayla.
And I'm Tamala, and we are the mother-daughter duo that you never knew you needed.
Yes, welcome to episode 5. I'm excited for this one because I think it's gonna get a little it's gonna go there. It's gonna go there. But first off, just want to say, hope you've been enjoying the episode so far. We've really been enjoying recording these and just getting into the conversations.
Yes.
And I hope that you've been enjoying the conversations as well. You know, share them with your loved ones.
Please.
Spread the word.
Yes.
Keep the conversation going.
Yes.
But yeah,
Please.
So today, this topic, we're just really coming in hot for episode 5 because today we are talking about the talk. We are talking about sex. We are getting into it, okay?
Let's talk about sex, baby.
Right.
You just playing in the background.
Right. Because I'm like, wait, you have Salt and Pepper, and then my
Salt and
generation.
Pepper. Those are my girls.
But see, my generation version is Pretty Ricky on the hotline. so there's
we
that. So today we're gonna get into having the talk. We're gonna talk about sex. We're gonna talk about the stigmas, the taboos. We're gonna get into some things. So first off, let's go back into our childhoods, I guess, and talk about I guess middle school and growing up and how we first had those conversations. So for you, when was the first time that you remember having a talk about sex with a parent or an adult? Or when was the first time that you were aware of that conversation?
So actually it was in elementary school because it was family life.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it was 6th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade. I'm not sure what
it was.
grade
5th grade for me.
5th or 6th grade. It's been a minute. So whatever grade it was elementary school. And my elementary school was K through 6th grade. Mm-hmm. So I believe it was 5th or 6th grade, one of the two. And so when you have that class, they send home a paper and you have to get permission. Well, this is how it was done in my day. They send the paper home and you have to get permission to go to the class. If your parents don't sign the paper, you can't even go to the class. Mm-hmm. So I took the paper home. I didn't even know what the class. I was like, what is this? I don't even know what they're talking about. But Mom, you have to sign this. And so I was like, Mom, what is this? They said we have to get this signed. We have to go to this class. They're going to talk about some stuff, but I can't go if you don't sign this paper. And she was like, they're going to show you a movie and just pay attention. And I was like, okay.
That was all she said?
That's what she said. And I said, well, what are they going to talk about? And she's like, well, they're going to talk about stuff you need to know when you get older. And we'll talk after you watch the movie. And I was like, okay. That's all she said.
So there was no context, no...
Basically.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, okay. So I, take the paper back to the teacher and, so the teacher's telling us we're going to watch this, go to the class, family life. And there was a couple kids who weren't going. They had to go to the office. Poor kids. They had to go sit in the office at a table. I'm like, this is terrible. They were in trouble.
There was a kid in my class. There was one kid in my class.
There was
that
2
their
or 3
parents
kids.
said no and they could not.
Yeah. I feel like they were Jehovah Witness or something. And
so
or Mormon or something. They couldn't go.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, they went to the office. And so the rest of us went to this special classroom or whatever and watched this, series of films or whatever for that week or whatever. And each day was
a different, yeah.
And so anyway, the first day, they ease you into it before they blow your mind, So the first day, just, general information and things like that. So I was like, I had questions. I've always had questions. You know me. I'm a question
You've always
asker.
been very inquisitive.
Very much so. So every day I had questions. And every day they sent us home with material. Mm-hmm. You know, like, you know, and say, oh, go home and talk to your parents if you have questions, you know, and go over this with your parents. Mm-hmm. Girl, bye. My mom was like,
I'm not answering none of this.
She was like, just read the book. I was like,
so she didn't want to answer.
She didn't want to talk about it.
Really?
She didn't like talking about stuff like that.
Do you feel like she was like uncomfortable? Like,
yes. She
okay.
was like, just read the book.
She wasn't trying to go
I was like, okay, I'll read the book then. You know what I mean? Like, and then she was like, if you don't understand it, ask your teacher tomorrow. Kind of thing like that.
Interesting. Okay.
And I was like, okay. So I clearly wasn't going to talk. So then I was like, I'm going to ask my grandmother. Because, you know, on the weekends, I went to my grandmother's house. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I didn't say that to her. But in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm going to ask my grandmother. She's going to tell me.
She'll know.
So I had like all these questions I'm stockpiling in my mind. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the, you know, like on the last day. So now I'm not asking her anything. Every day I'm going to the class. And now I'm just like, keeping all these questions like in a memory bank in my head. And so that last day when they just blow you away with the whole, like, you know, way it works and how, you know, they tell you about the sperm and all this stuff and how it meets and I don't want to go into all this stuff in case there's a child watching. But anyway, so which okay,
I mean, right, like you see what the episode is about. Right. But also, we are trying to open up.
We are
the conversation,
but I don't want to get too graphic.
But yeah. Because it's like you know, you teach your kids.
Little Billy may be watching, and you get mad at me, and you say, "Oh my gosh, she said whatever."
Viewer discretion on this one a little bit.
Yeah. You know, this is not PG-13 right now. So anyway, when on that last day when they got all down to the nitty-gritty, I was like. So I didn't know any of this, and I'm like, whoa. So I go to my grandmother's on the weekend, and I had all these, you know, pamphlets from each day or whatever, and I said, oh my goodness, I said, I want to talk to you about this, and she's like, you know, my grandmother was like an open book with me. She says, okay, well, what do you want to know?
Really?
And she says, okay, well, this, like, you know, she's talking to me about it. And she said, oh, yeah. And I said, she said, it's nothing to be ashamed of. Oh. And, you know, we talked about it. So we talked about the cycle and, you know, and how babies, you know, are made and, you know, things like that. And she's like, but you don't have to worry about that for a while, you know, and things like just, you know, she was honest.
But she was still giving, like, age appropriate.
But she was giving me, she was talking to me for my age. Yeah. You know, and gentle about it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't feel like dirty about it or anything. I didn't feel uncomfortable. She was talking to me very, you know, it was very comforting, like she always was with me. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I felt armed with information. And now I felt like, and then she also said to me, you know, when this happens, you know, you let me know. Mm-hmm. You know, because I don't want you to be scared. Mm-hmm. Because that's what happens a lot of times is girls, you know, they get their cycle and it freaks them out because they don't know what's happening. Yeah. And so I'm, you know, glad she told me that because, you know, that can freak a girl out if you don't know what the heck's happening to your body.
Right.
Yeah. So that was how it happened for me.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. So I feel like, you know, some mothers are uncomfortable having that talk for whatever reason, and it may be because I had a mother that was not she just was not very affectionate, and I think I said that in another episode. She wasn't like, oh, I love you, and, you know, huggy and kissy, and I didn't have that you know, it was like I can count on one hand how many times my mother told me she loved me in my whole life. She just wasn't vocal and affectionate like that. Well, you probably know from your lifetime. Mm-hmm. She's just not that type of, that's not her, that's not how she is. Mm-hmm. That's not how she shows it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you think that, like, discomfort stems from, because we're gonna get into like how we had the talk and stuff, and it's like it's such a contrast. So I just wonder, like, where do you think that stems from?
I honestly have no idea, and I've thought about that, because I used to say, how could she be that way when my grandmother was not that way with me?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's interesting.
I wondered if it was because of what she went through when she was younger, and she just shut down about all that subject. Because then she'd say things like, you know, when we became of age where we could get like pregnant and stuff like that, and you know, my sister and I would joke, because she just would say things like, just don't do it. That was like birth control. Just don't do it. Like,
that's like that scene in Mean Girls.
Okay.
Where the gym teacher is like,
for sure.
You will don't have sex, you will get chlamydia and die.
Right. Like, that's something my mom would have said.
It's like
literally.
Hold on, like, can you give me some more detail?
Right. Like, that sounds like something she would have said. Like, she was so, like, just ridiculous about some of her.
She just shut down about the idea.
Yeah, just don't ever do it.
So interesting.
I'm like, wow, okay. Well,
and I wonder if also it might just be like a generational thing,
it could
too, where it's just like the conversation about sex and like those type of taboo subjects, just like you don't talk about it. It's like you just don't talk about it.
And it could be because I have another friend, I won't say her name. You know her, she's one of the tallest friends I have.
Okay.
And her mother put a book on her bed.
I feel like a lot of parents do that.
And she was like, just read that.
A lot of parents
do
that.
Like, are you serious?
I've heard so many stories of girls, especially. There's a book.
I'm like, wow.
I'm blanking on the name of it right now, but it's like, it's almost like not a cartoon, but it's like, comment below if you know what I'm talking about, because I can picture the cover in my head, and it's like an animated cover, and it almost is like American Girl, but like the grown-up version, where it's just basically supposed to teach you like the basics of puberty and like sex and stuff like that. And so I've heard a lot of girls say that their mom or their dad or, you know, whoever their parental figure would just like give them the book and be like, okay, read the book, and that's it.
And good luck.
And I think it's generational, but I also think that with parents, they just get so uncomfortable with the thought of like their kid having sex, or like their kid even knowing like what it is and what you do, and I don't know. Like, I
just thought about Target when we went shopping.
Target?
Remember when we went shopping? I'm just flashback to Target when we went shopping for college. You could tell about that.
Oh! I'll tell that right now.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, that's jumping ahead. But
that is jumping
ahead. But I'm so clearly I wasn't uncomfortable.
Wait, remember that, because I'll bring that back up. So I guess that's like maybe a reason, but
possibly.
I guess so. For me, growing up, similarly, in 5th grade, I remember I went to Catholic school, so family life was like, I will say they got into it. Like they definitely, you know, dove into the topics, and they, you know, we learned a lot, but it also came from like the Catholic perspective too. Right. So there was like that religious aspect to it. But I remember it was 5th grade, and everybody knew when you hit 5th grade, you do family life. But nobody talked about it, because it was like, oh, well, you know, in 5th grade, you do family life. And it was just like, you'll find out when you find out. Like, it was very hush-hush. And so as soon as you got to 5th grade, you know, like, okay, it's coming. So I remember the day the teacher sent us home with the book, and it was a book and like some papers and materials and the permission slip. And like I said, there was only one kid who their parents did not sign. So when we had the family life period, he had to go somewhere. I don't know if he was doing like study hall or what, but he had to like leave. And then the rest of us would like watch the video, have the class and all of that. So same thing, you know, they ease you in, you talk about like puberty and like, you know, the differences between like boys and girls, and like having your cycle, and they talk about like wet dreams and like stuff like that. And I was like, oh wow, okay, didn't know about that. That's interesting. And then they just, you know, as time goes on, they delve into everything else. And I was a very innocent kid. Like, I wouldn't say I was sheltered, because I don't think you guys sheltered me, but I didn't know, like, I didn't even know what sex actually was until family life.
She didn't.
I thought, seriously, I don't even know if you know this, I literally, as a kid, I thought that you got pregnant by kissing someone. Like, I thought you make out with someone and that's how you have a baby. Like, that's how you get pregnant.
Oh, you did?
Yes. I had no
oh, gosh,
concept.
I didn't realize that.
I thought it was just like, you have the husband and the wife or whatever.
Innocent, my baby was so
and I thought it was
innocent.
like you kiss and that's how you get pregnant.
Oh, boy.
Girl.
We should have had a lot of kids in the house.
Like, that's really what I thought until,
Oh, boy.
the class and stuff. And I talked to
Completely
you.
innocent, my child.
Really, and then,
She
that takes
was.
me to the other story
boy.
about, so.
About Jayla. Oh,
So,
this will be funny.
There was a girl in my
boy.
class, because obviously we're having family life class and stuff. And the girl, we were having a conversation at like recess or something. And the girl was talking about
this.
like, how was you? I feel like you remember it better than I do.
So this is what I remember.
Because I forgot how the conversation came up.
Because that day when they go into the graphics of how the child is conceived.
Yeah.
They go into the specifics. And J-Lo was like, obviously, if she thought it was by kissing, she's like almost devastated about
like, my
this.
mom would never do
act.
that.
And so the little girl was like, oh my gosh, the kids talk afterwards. And she's like, oh my gosh, that's how we all got here. And J-Lo was like, no, that's not how I got here. Because my mom would never do that.
And she was cracking up at me. She was like, yes, it is.
Like, yes, it is.
She was like,
your mom had to.
Yeah, she's like, all of our parents did
all
it.
of our parents did.
And I was
Jayla
like,
was like,
no.
my mom wouldn't do that. Like,
I thought it was so disgusting and so like, oh, she would never. Like, she would absolutely never in her life.
Was so
girl.
First of all, it was funny, but it was so cute because I thought, oh,
I thought you were a saint.
She thought I was Saint Mom.
I thought you were a Virgin Mary saint.
And she had me up here, and I just would never do that.
I just was like,
in a million years. And so I was sorry. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. I did it. I did it twice for sure.
At least twice.
At least for sure, girl.
At least twice.
We know.
Yeah,
for sure.
Girl, no, so that was my introduction into, obviously the anatomy, the biology of it all. But I remember the first day that I brought home the book. We were in the car. And I remember, you guys both picked me up. So you guys were both in the car, and I gave you the packet, and you opened the book, and y'all were flipping through the book, and y'all were like, what is going, like, this is time for this? Okay.
I was not ready.
And so, but you guys were,
yeah,
like,
cool.
Okay, here we go. But I specifically remember after the classes, like after school each day, I would come home and talk to you. And you were very, very open. Like, you were like, whatever question you have, I don't care what it is, what it's about.
Yep.
If it's about something that you learned, if it's about something in the book, if it's about something that you heard or saw, or you're just curious, just ask me. Because I appreciated the fact that you were like, I'd rather you come to me.
Yep.
Even if it feels embarrassing, even if it feels like cringe or whatever, I'd rather you come to me than ask a friend or ask someone else.
That's what I said.
And possibly get the wrong information or just whatever.
That's what I said.
So we had very, very open conversations about everything. Like, I remember asking you a lot of questions.
Because, okay, so I'm glad you said that, because that was my motto. That was my platform, really. That was because I felt like, and about this for sure, but really everything, I've always felt like I want you to come to me so you get the right information. If you go to somebody else, I don't know what they're going to tell you.
Right.
They may tell you something crazy.
Their information from.
They may tell you something that's totally wrong. I know if you come ask me, I'm going to give you the correct information. So, and I want you to be comfortable coming to me. That's the thing. So, I just feel, I just always wanted you to feel comfortable, and I realized, I don't know about your friends, but for sure, even with your brother, like I did the same thing with him. And I can remember there was a certain particular time, one time, and boys are so funny. He's on a video game. You know how the boys get on those video games? And I just remember he yelled out, he's playing on the thing with these boys, and he's in the other room, and I'm in the living room, and he's in the, we have the game room. So he's in there, and all of a sudden he yells out, "Hey, Mom, what's a circumcision?" I said, "Oh, okay. What are we doing here?" So these
What kind of
little boys.
conversation were they having?
So literally, there's a little boy. Okay, clearly your brother putting his business out. He was circumcised when he was born.
Right. I feel
So
like most,
it's not like something he would have been,
Right.
be knowing or talking about. So these little boys. So apparently there was one of his friends that was going to be circumcised, and he was older.
Oh, he was older.
But they were little boys. They were
they were younger.
You know,
he said
8 or something. I don't know. Whatever. And
oh my god.
And but so none of the boys knew what he was talking about. They had all been circumcised when they were babies.
Yeah. So they just.
So he was like, "I get circumcised tomorrow," and they were like, "What?
What is that?" Yeah.
And he was like, "You guys don't know what that is?" And Karen was like, "I'm gonna ask my mom." "Hey, Mom!" And so he did that. And then the other kids were like, "My mom won't tell me." And and Cameron was like, "My mom will tell me." And so he just yelled out. I said, "Oh my!" I said, "Cameron, hold
on. First of all, right?
Yeah, I was like, "What are you talking about? Who are you talking to?"
Right.
Like, I needed to know the backstory.
Right. Give me the context.
Yeah.
What is the conversation?
Saying all that to say, obviously, parents with boys too, they don't talk to their sons just openly either. And again, I want to have an open. It's everything's on the table.
Yeah.
It's open door. Everything is open for discussion.
Yeah.
So I explained to him what it was.
Right.
And then he was like, "Well, did I have one?" I said, "You did. And you had it when you were born. And that's why you don't know what it is."
Right.
And so, we went through it. He was like, "Oh, wow." And he was like, "Oh, I'm glad you did that when I was born."
Oh, my gosh.
Because he was like, "That's jacked up. I don't want to have to go through that now." You know what I mean? So, so that's how that was.
Funny.
So for you, it was very important to me, as you learned. I did want to go over it each day.
Yeah.
Because like me, I remembered I had questions.
Yeah.
It didn't just stop with the class.
No.
I still have more
had
questions.
So many questions. Yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted you to do that I wanted to do that with you because again, I tried with my parenting. I just said I tried to whatever I didn't get, I try to do that with you. Mm-hmm. Like for all the, things I didn't receive, I want to make sure I implement that into my parenting. Yeah. And then for the good stuff, I held on to that. You know, because my mom did give me a lot of good stuff. Yeah. She taught me a lot of good things. And for those things, I carry on into my parenting too.
Yeah. And I think that open door policy was really important because going back to what we were talking about earlier with like that discomfort, because it's like it's one of those things where it's like, I'm sure when I came to you asking these questions, it's uncomfortable. Like, I don't think any parent is like looking forward to the day where it's like, we gotta talk about the birds and the bees.
Right. It's like, ooh, I just can't wait.
Right.
Nobody's excited about it, but you have to do it.
Right. It's like one of those things where having that open door policy just makes it so much easier, I think, down the road because...
For sure.
For one, I think it's the education aspect because I can't tell you how many kids would be like, "Oh, well, my cousin said so-and-so or my whatever said so-and-so."
Exactly.
And they're telling me stuff and I'm like, that's actually
Right.
wrong.
Right.
Or if it was like when I was younger, I'm like, is that true? Like, I don't know. I don't even know what that word means, or I don't even know. I've never seen that. Or like, especially, kids, there's, certain kids who are exposed to things earlier. Like maybe they watched, movies that they probably shouldn't have, or they're around adults or something. And it's like, it's really easy for kids to absorb information and then they go and regurgitate it at school or to other family members or whatever, and it's completely off.
Right.
Whereas if you have more of that like open door policy as a parental figure, legal guardian, whatever the case is, I think there's a safety aspect to that because you don't want kids running around with the wrong information
and passing it on to friends.
Right. And then it's also like that could actually be dangerous.
Right. For
along the lines when it comes to, pregnancy and STDs and all kinds of stuff.
Absolutely.
And I think it's also really important, I just thought about this, the open door policy too, because that also opens the door to kids being more comfortable talking about, if something is going on without consent, or like, you know,
oh, for sure,
being comfortable.
Yes.
Like I remember from the time I was in preschool, you were like, if anybody touches you or if anybody does anything, you tell me immediately. And I knew, like, okay, if somebody,
and if they tell you to touch them, that's the thing too. And because, you know, a friend of mine, the one we talked about earlier, because she has grandchildren, and me and her were both saying, you know, people tell their kids, you know, if anybody ever touches you, but they forget to talk about the other side too. It's
true.
Like, if they tell you to touch them, because it's just as bad.
Yeah,
same thing. Because you know, there's so many weirdos out there.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
it's just the same thing. Like any type of that behavior. Yeah, so you do remember that. Yeah, and you have to tell it. It's sad that we have to start so early.
But you do.
But the sickos are out there.
You do.
So we do. And yes, so I did. I told you. Yeah. I remember telling you that very early.
Yeah.
I had to do the same thing with your brother because they come for your little boys too.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So I thought of two stories that I wanted to tell.
Oh gosh. Okay.
So the first one was when I was young. I was probably like, because this was at the first house. So I was probably like 5 or 6 or something. I think I was like 6.
Okay.
I wonder if you remember this. I remember we used to watch UPN. Like, if y'all remember back in the day, UPN with like the Parkers and One-on-One Girlfriends. Like, that was like back when all of those shows were on TV and like new shows, right? So I remember we were watching One-on-One. And I always remember my bedtime was before Girlfriends came on because I was not allowed to watch Girlfriends at all. But we watched One-on-One because One-on-One was kind of like, you know, PG-13.
Yeah,
like it was, you know.
It was a father-daughter.
Yeah. And so we were watching together, and I remember the episode was ending, and it was the episode where Flex found condoms in Brianna's room.
Oh, no.
And it was like this big dramatic thing, and he was like, a condom. And I was like, what's a condom to you and Andre?
No, I do
and you guys both looked at each other, and you were like, and you didn't say anything, so I said, Mom, what's a condom?
Okay.
And you were like, we'll talk about that when you get older. And so I was like, okay.
That threw me for a loop. And that wasn't a normal answer for me. I was so stuck.
No, but I will say, for that time and like for that age, because like I said, I was like 6. So I did any information you would have gave me about that would have went over my head. It just wasn't that time.
It was not.
That was just an episode where it was like, we're gonna have to talk about this later. We're gonna have to.
But I also remember one time you asked Andre. Do you remember asking him one time?
No.
At the old house too, at the first house. And he said, you asked him, I think I was in the kitchen cooking dinner, and you were over there playing with your brother, and a condom commercial came on. I think it was on like BET or something.
Oh, Lord.
And you asked him, you said, what? They keep showing these commercials. You said, what
like
is
a Trojan
a
commercial?
condom? And he said, oh my God. He said, and you wouldn't let up.
Because I'm like, tell me.
You were relentless.
Yeah.
He said, it's like a Band-Aid for dads.
I'm screaming. A Band-Aid for dads is wild. I'm screaming. Oh my gosh. I mean, he's not all the way wrong.
Oh my God. I'm on the ground. I was like, okay, you get an A forever on that one.
I do not remember that.
I was over there hollering in the kitchen. I said,
that was a good one.
That was a good one. You said, oh, okay. And you were good. You went on, kept playing with your brother.
I just needed a quick little explanation.
Said, oh, okay. Yeah.
Wow. A Band-Aid for dads.
I always remember that.
So if you're struggling with
the answer,
describe,
that might work
that
for you.
That could work for a younger
Band-Aid for
child.
dads.
Wow. For dads specifically.
Specifically.
So then the other story, speaking of condoms, while we're still on this topic, we're going to fast forward to before I went off to college, because this was funny. And I think this was also like just a testament to like how open our relationship is.
Yep.
So when I was going off to college, and I could say this because I've already said this on the internet before. I lost my virginity when I was 18. So before I went off to college, I was still a Puritan.
Puritan kills me. I love that.
I just always say that. So
such a good girl.
So I went off to college just like not really thinking about sex. I mean, kind of, but not really. It was just kind of like, I was just really wanting to have a boyfriend. I was like, okay, I would love to like meet a cute guy in college, have a boyfriend, but I wasn't really focused on sex. I don't know. It just wasn't really, I don't know. It just wasn't at the forefront, I guess. I don't know. So I just didn't imagine myself like going off to school and like, you know, going crazy. And so I remember before it was time for me to go, we're like, you know, packing and getting ready to head out and all that. And Mom was like, okay, we're making an appointment. You're going to the gynecologist. We're going to talk about birth control. And so I went to the appointment and I had, you know, my appointment with the gynecologist, and I was like, I'm getting birth control today. Like, I'm actually getting it. I was like, why though? Because I was like, I'm not going to use, what do I need this for? Like, I'm not going to use this. Like, huh? And so got the birth control. Then we go to Target and we're like shopping for my college essentials. We're in the toiletry aisle and stuff, and we pass the, you know, like family planning aisle and all that type of stuff. She grabs a box and puts it in the cart. I was like, Mom! And she was like, girl, let's be realistic. You're going to college, okay?
This is a true story.
She was like, if you use them, you use them. You know, I want you to have them. And if you don't, you don't. But have them.
I did.
And I appreciate you for that, because...
And I also told you, I don't know if you remember this, I always told my daughter, don't rely on the man to have the condom.
Because let me tell you,
your purse.
Because let me tell you, that excuse was used. Like, oh, I don't have one.
I don't have one. Oh, okay.
Look who does.
What? I do.
Right.
Because
let me go on over to this drawer.
That those days should be long gone.
So,
girls,
so ladies,
women, ladies, you know what?
Keep them on you.
You put a condom in your purse, or 2 or 5.
Keep them on you.
So you know what? Yeah, that's I don't, and that came from my mom and my grandmother. You know what? We don't have to sit around and wait and like, oh, I don't have one. Okay, you know what? We got to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's why I did that.
Yeah.
Because I don't want you to feel like, you know, you don't have what you need.
Yeah.
I want you to always have what you need.
And I honestly, like, that was great, because going off to college, I felt so prepared and, like, protected.
That's
because
what I wanted.
Even though, like, I didn't start taking the birth control or even, like, using the condoms until later on. But it was like when the time came, I had what I needed. And I was like, okay, I don't have to worry about pregnancy. I'm protected. I'm good. All of that. And I also just I never felt like shame for having any of that stuff. I never felt pressured to, like, you know, not use protection or anything like that. Because I think sometimes that's something that, you know, men can be manipulative and try to be like, oh, well, you know, I don't know. Like, y'all have heard of situations where it's like men try to manipulate the situation to be like, oh, we don't need to use one, or I don't want to use one, or whatever. It was none of that. It's like, look, if we're doing this is how we're going to do it, period. Like, I'm protecting myself. So ladies, again, like, just never feel embarrassed or guilty or any kind of way for protecting yourself and having those boundaries, because your health and your well-being is very important. And also, I was just like, I'm in college. I'm not trying to have nobody's baby. Right. So...
Or get something that you can't get rid of.
Exactly. I'm not trying to do any of that.
That's worse than anything.
Which, that is a great segue, because I feel like another stigma, like, along with sex, another, like, taboo topic is always STDs. Like, nobody ever talks about STDs, and I think people should. Like, I just think it's so crazy how STD rates continue to rise, but it's like people do not talk about it. There's no talk really about, like prevention. There's no talk a lot about like what to do, symptoms. Like there's just not a lot of discussion about it, which I think is kind of scary.
It is very scary. And I think that the reason is because one reason, there's probably several. There are several. One of them is because it's embarrassing. Mm-hmm. People are ashamed, as they should be.
Wait, why would you say that?
No, I don't mean like that. It's because I don't mean like that in that way. I just mean like you should be able to talk about it. I'm saying like be ashamed in the fact that you can't talk. Why aren't you talking about it? Like be open. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I guess my thing is if you can sleep with me, then we should be able to talk about this.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
the ashamed part.
So point.
If I didn't come across clear, I mean, my thing is if we're sleeping in the same bed and you find out you have whatever, you need to tell me.
Yeah. And also, really quick, normalize. Seriously, I think everybody, I don't care who you are, man, woman, whoever, whatever type of relationship you're in, can we please normalize, like, before y'all have sex and before y'all get into what you're going to get into, I feel like everybody should be exchanging some paperwork. You go get a test, I go get a test. When we get our results back, let's have a conversation and then we go from there, because I feel like it's so crazy how people and like men will just expect to have unprotected sex with you, and it's like, I ain't seen tests first. Like, are you good? Do you care if I'm good? Like, what if I have something? What if you have something? Like, that's just wild to think that like people are so flippant about it. Like, oh, whatever, it's fine.
No, that's true.
You know, and they'll just like go unprotected.
Because everybody's gonna think they're fine and
whatever.
say they're fine.
And the other thing too that's scary is that a lot of these diseases, infections, whatever, a lot of them can lie dormant. So it's like you can have
that's
something.
The scary part. That's why I go regularly.
You can have something.
I go regularly
and never know. Yeah,
because you got to keep going.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like at any age, and honestly, whether you're in a relationship or not. And that my thing is, it's not even a trust thing. I think it's your health and your well-being, because again, let's say you're with someone for 5 years, right? You don't know, like maybe something happened before they got with you. Maybe they have something that they didn't know about, or you just don't know. Like, I just feel like the nature of these things is so unpredictable, and I feel like there's still so much that we don't know, and it's kind of scary. And just the fact that things can lie dormant for so long is like terrifying.
That is scary.
I think that is really important to have those open conversations with your partners, whoever you're dealing with. Because it shouldn't be this big taboo thing. And it shouldn't be, we're only talking about it because you caught something. It should be like, what's your status before we even get started?
That's
you know what I mean?
Point. Yeah.
Like, I just think I really want us as like a society to normalize, like, before we even get into this, I need to see some test results.
Because it's your health.
It's your health. And it's your life. It's your life
or death situation.
It could be. And also, if you want to have kids,
oh, for sure,
there's
because
things
those
that can be passed to your
those
kids.
things can make you be infertile.
True. That too.
It messes with the fertility.
Yeah.
Men and women, actually. Yeah.
And especially if you have something and it's like it's not being treated or whatever. So it's just like, y'all, please take your health seriously.
For sure.
Please get tested for everything. Whether
people
you
don't
are,
want to talk about it. You're right.
Yeah.
No one talks about it,
and I just feel like we should.
It's pretty sad,
and the other
they don't
thing
talk about it until it's a problem,
right? And what I was gonna say too is it's wild that people don't want to talk about it, and it's not more. I mean, I get it. Like, we were talking about it because it's embarrassing, and it's like, who wants to admit that? But it's also way more common than people act like it is. Yeah. Like, the statistics,
it's too common.
Like,
it actually is pretty rampant, actually.
Right. So that's why I'm like, okay, no, the fact that it's so common, like, actually everybody needs to be talking about it. Like, there needs to be a conversation. So I just feel like, please don't, the embarrassment, the guilt, the shame, the whatever, put that to the side, because your health and your well-being is way more important.
And I feel like that kind of taps into something we talked about earlier, is partially I think maybe the numbers are up because more people are having multiple partners.
Yeah. Which is like, do you, but be responsible.
But I'm just
about
saying
it.
they're having multiple partners, so obviously there's all this mixing going on. And, not to sound,
no, it's true.
crazy, but, this mixing of all these different fluids all over the place is true. Something's going to happen. I'm just saying.
Well, because
think about it.
It's like whoever, like, let's say this person is sleeping with 5 other people and then this person is sleeping with 10 other people. It's like, I remember in high school, they showed us a chart. It was literally like a chart of people.
Yes,
and it was like
I've
this
seen
person
that
and this
chart.
person.
It looks crazy.
It looks insane. It was like the numbers and the way
because
that
you're
they
sleeping
did it
with
was,
all those people,
right? And I was what? It was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So it's like it's that same concept where it's you're not just sleeping with this person. You have to think about like everybody that they've been dealing with too. It's like a domino
you're sleeping
effect.
with 150 people or something.
Yeah, it was that chart was nuts. I was like, wow.
Yeah, it makes you stop and think about it. Yeah, in a different way.
And that's and it's like it's no shame if you have multiple partners or whatever the case is. But it's just being
not
responsible about it.
Just saying. Think about your health. Yeah, we're trying to be proactive.
Yeah, there's a girl that I know that is a sex worker, and she gets tested like all the time, and I love like she'll show it like on her Instagram or like she posts about it because she's like, hey guys, like don't forget, go get tested, like, and she shows herself like getting the blood work done, and I love that because it's like I'm not just out here doing what I do. Safe. And not being responsible and not being safe. So I love the fact that she does that and is like, promoting that. So have safe sex, y'all. Along those lines with we were talking about like open door policy and that kind of thing. I just wanted to point out that I think for me personally, having that open door policy helped me a lot growing up with not having to be so like rebellious. Like I don't feel like I didn't have to like sneak and do things or like I don't know. I feel like because we were so open and I didn't have as many questions because I could always come to you, and also I didn't feel guilty for like, how do I want to word it? Because I feel like, okay, let me put it to you like this. I feel like sometimes there's people who their parents are so strict and they like don't tell them anything. It's like you can't have a boyfriend, you can't do anything, and then that just makes you go the opposite way. Right. And now you're sneaking out, you're sleeping with a bunch of people. Right. And you're probably not protecting yourself. You don't have the correct education or information, so you're just out here, like kind of running wild. And I feel like because we had such an open door policy and you gave me all the information, that wasn't in me to do that. I didn't feel like I had to sneak out. I wasn't feeling rebellious. Like, and even when I had boyfriends in high school and stuff, I don't know.
It's almost like you weren't excited about it. I feel like. It seems
I
like
kind
you
of wasn't. To be honest with you,
I kind of feel sorry for the boys. Honestly, she was like, they were bothering her. She was like, this
prude.
She was like, I got a lot of homework. I'm like,
here's the thing. So like when I like learned about sex and like relationships and stuff. To be honest, it was like, because like I was like 15 when I had my first boyfriend. And it's like, we're 15. Like,
if you could even call him that, poor baby. You just broke his little heart.
Broke a couple of hearts. No, but I just feel like at that age, my mind just wasn't on it. It was like, you're cute. Let's hang out. Like, we can go to the movies. Right. You can kiss me because you're cute. And that's really it. I'm not really trying to do nothing else with you. Like, it just wasn't a thing. And I don't know, maybe I was a little bit of a late bloomer or something, so maybe my hormones just weren't revved. I don't know, but I just wasn't feeling it like that in high school. There was one instance or one time, like my senior year, where I thought maybe things would go somewhere, but it didn't. I'm gonna have to bleep that out. Oh, but yeah,
I'm sorry.
She's trying to blow up the spot.
I'm sorry.
But yeah,
block that out. I'm sorry.
But yeah, But it
I
didn't.
was like, who?
But it right.
Okay.
But no, but it didn't, which I think was for the best. But yeah, that was the only time before college where I was like,
Okay.
because I
That's not surprising because
you know the situation.
Yeah, I know the story. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, it wasn't until college where I was like, okay, I'm ready. Did you? That's what I want to talk about too, like with virginity and stuff like that. Which, by the way, this is just something that I wanted to say. I don't like the phrase or like the term like lost my virginity, because I don't like. It's like I didn't lose it. I gave it to you. It's not misplaced. Why do we say that? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Lost.
I don't like that. I don't know. It's just like a personal thing. I just was like, when you say like, oh, I lost my virginity, I'm like, lost? I gave it.
That's true. I never thought about that.
You know? I don't know.
Hey, what do you guys think about that? Let us know.
Yeah, let us know in the
I never
comments.
thought about it.
Has anybody else?
Why don't we
thought
say
about that?
lost the virginity?
Because it's
like
not
lost.
It's not lost.
It's a decision.
I know who I gave it to.
And it's a choice.
Right.
You choose to give it.
That's
we
what I'm
give
saying.
it freely of our own. It's a choice we decided to.
Right.
Something we decided to do.
Right.
Lost it. Why do we say lost?
I don't know. I don't know. Comment your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Oh, what I was going to ask you was,
Side
do
note.
you remember when we had that talk when I was in college, and I had given away my virginity?
Kind of. I sort of. Was it on the phone?
Yeah. It was so funny because it was such a like casual conversation.
I feel like I knew it was gonna be with that person.
Yeah.
I won't say names now because
No,
especially that person.
Please don't say him.
Okay, so here we go. Like, quick story. The person that it was, I couldn't stand the person.
And she hadn't even met him. That's the funny part
but
about
here's
it.
the thing. Knew. Mother's intuition, right? So I talked to the person on the phone.
Because he was raggedy.
And I didn't like him.
He was raggedy.
Through the phone.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to meet him. So I'm glad I didn't. And yeah, I didn't.
My gosh.
He wasn't worthy of me meeting him.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't worthy of a lot.
He wasn't worthy of period.
Learn.
But you know, again, I say things happen the way they're supposed to happen, because had you not, who knows, had you not gone through that, you wouldn't have the person you have now.
Right. Amen.
Who I do love very much.
Right.
So there's that.
But
no, I do kind of remember
the conversation.
it.
Yeah. I just remember it was very casual because it was like a conversation where we were just like catching up, talking about school, what's going on, you know, what's the latest. And I think because I wanted to tell you, but I also didn't know like how to bring it up. So I think I brought up like, okay, well, I started taking birth control now. And you were like, oh, okay. Because you knew that I wasn't taking it yet, because I was like, I don't need it. Like, what am I going to take it for? Blah, blah, blah. And so I think I brought it up like that because I had started taking it. And then you were like, wait a minute. What? Did something happen? Or something like that.
Yeah, I do remember.
And I was like, yeah. And so we kind of like talked about it. Obviously, like we didn't get into details, but like I told you, like you knew.
Okay.
And I just remember that conversation was so funny to me because I was like, I couldn't not tell you, because I was thinking, I was like, am I gonna tell mom? Then I was like, of course I'm gonna tell mom.
Glad
like
you
I can't
me.
not. Like I just was like, I can't not. Like I have to tell you this. And so yeah, I told you, and I feel like you were just like, it was one of those like, oh my baby, like
yeah, that's how I felt. But I didn't feel like I hope I didn't make you feel like you were ashamed.
No. I was gonna say, but I didn't feel like embarrassed. I didn't feel like, oh, I shouldn't have told her or anything. Like I didn't feel anything like that.
Yeah, like I didn't say, oh my gosh, you're disgusting, or you know, make you feel this is repulsive.
No, like not at all.
Because I would never do that.
Yeah,
and that's not what I was thinking. You know, hey. You know, I want you to come to me. I want you to tell me. I want to know what's going on in your life. You know?
Yeah.
So we're pretty good with that.
Yeah. So yeah, that That was.
Oh my goodness.
That was a time.
That was.
But I think that pretty much concludes. Oh, I guess we can talk about dating really quick because that does kind of like tie into, the talk and sex and all of that.
Okay.
Because I feel like for me, I started dating at what I would think is a good age. Like I feel like when I have kids, I would let them date around the same age. How old were you when you had like your first boyfriend?
So I was not allowed to. Talking about being too strict because of my mom's past. I feel like she went overboard with the whole boyfriend thing.
She was like, "You're
don't
not.
do it. Don't do it. Don't do it with the sex. Don't do it. You can't have a boyfriend. Don't talk to boy." Like it was ridiculous.
She didn't want you
so
looking
of course,
at
and like Jayla said, so I'm a rebellion. Like you tell me not to do it, I'm gonna find 55 ways to do it. So, there was this boy. I could say his name,
okay,
because he's rest in peace. He was the first boy that I.
He was the fact that I knew him, like that we knew him
crazy.
too, is what like he was so sweet. Yeah.
So Gerald was my first love, the first boy I liked, first crush, first kiss, first everything.
Yeah.
And it was, everybody just thought we were just so cute because the whole time I was in high school, from 9th grade to 12th grade, he liked me and I liked him.
That's so
and
cute.
He walked me to class for 4 years. Every class. He was in trouble. Like, I don't know how he didn't get like kicked out. I don't know if he went to the office and made some special arrangement. I swear he was late to class. He would walk me to class, and he was just so cute. But the crazy thing is, he was such a sweet. He was a good person.
Yeah.
Yeah. He passed away. He died of cancer when he was 30 years old. That was
he was 30.
I know. That was my dude though. He ended up being my best friend, but he was a Jehovah's Witness. And so, because he was Jehovah's Witness, he wasn't supposed to have a girlfriend. So, he wasn't supposed to have a girlfriend. Yeah. I wasn't supposed to have a boyfriend. So, we'd be sneaky. And so, he got a car when he was 16. So, then he started picking me up in his car. But he picked me up around the corner. So,
y'all were really sneaky.
We were sneaky. We were like Romeo and Juliet. So, I got busted finally. So, my mom finds out. And she's like, who is that? Who is that picking you up in a car? I told you you're not supposed to have a boyfriend. He better come to this door and I need to see who that is and where does he live and all this. She's going on. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So he's scared, but he's like, okay, well, she's right. I gotta come meet your parents. Mm-hmm. And because he's he comes from a good family, but he's scared. Right. And he's like, but I gotta come meet her. I gotta come meet, your parents. Aww. And my mom and the man she was married to, I'll just say that.
Right.
So, he did. He came and he presented himself, and the crazy part is she ended up really liking him.
I was just gonna say, I was like, she ended up loving him.
She literally
everybody loved him.
Everybody did.
Like,
he was hard
he was
not
such
to
a
love.
Sweetheart, yeah.
And so that was crazy. So he ended up being basically like a part of our family.
Yeah.
And
he was like a family
friend. Literally,
yeah.
So much so that, fast forward to my husband even liked him. Yeah. And got to know him, and
you would go over to the house.
Yeah.
Like when he got married, and had kids and stuff.
We would go to his house for dinner. He had a wife and 2 kids, and it was crazy. Yeah. We were all like, yeah. Right before he passed away. In fact, his wife do you remember going over there when we had that dinner?
A little bit.
So his wife had a family dinner, and it was myself, my ex-husband, my 2 kids, my mom, her husband.
It was everybody.
And my sister. Yeah, and his family.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that.
She made a big dinner. Yeah. And he was that was the last time I saw him. And he passed away shortly after that. He wanted all of us to be together. Yeah. One last time. Yeah. He was a sweetheart. But that was my first boyfriend. Yeah. If you could say. Yeah. That was technically my first boyfriend. Yeah. And then your dad.
Yeah. Oh wow. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay, my first boyfriend was sophomore year of high school, because I was 15. And I remember, well, maybe you could answer this, because I kind of don't remember, like, how we had the conversation about, like, when I was allowed to start dating and having a boyfriend in high school and stuff. Like, I kind of, I don't really remember, like, that conversation.
Okay, so I remember, you liked talking about the boy. Mm-hmm. And I remember saying,
oh my
I just
God.
remember saying, like, you can meet, you can do things like go to the movies. Mm-hmm. But I said I need to meet the parents. Mm-hmm. And, that we would drop you off and pick you up. Right?
Okay, yes.
Remember
and
that?
no. Yes and no. Because the first boyfriend I had, you did not meet his mom. His
that?
dad wasn't in the picture.
Who? I didn't like him.
No. Remember he went to... Yeah. He, that was the first one.
Oh, okay. But
I don't even know if you met him. You did know about him. But
I didn't.
He wasn't really a factor, to be honest.
Okay.
Like, we literally... I would see him
Okay, she
at
had
games.
a non-factor one on the side that I didn't
Not
really...
the side.
Well-
No, let me explain. So this boy, this was actually
He was
such
a problem.
No, it was because he was
He
literally
ended
the
up
reason
coming
why
between
me
you
and
and
my
your
best
best
friend
friend.
didn't talk for a year.
A mess.
Raggedy. Anyway, so he really was a non-factor though, because we
really
us
was.
going out, we weren't doing anything. Like, I would see him at games. He used to play football and like be on the track. He did like track, and so I would go to like the meets and stuff, and that was really all that I would see him at. We went to the movies like one time. Oh, bless you.
Pardon me.
So we went to the movies. Oh, we went to the movies for Valentine's Day. That's what it was.
Oh my goodness.
And I remember, I think Andre met him because he picked me up from the movie date or whatever. But it was very short lived.
Where I was in this time,
Girl, I don't know, but it clearly...
Was I ill?
No. I was like... No, I
don't believe I was onto this.
No, you were, but it was just like, it was very short lived.
I was being very, very,
very
free at this
short-lived.
time because I was not into this. This is not this was not the norm for me.
Yeah,
I
because
normally want to meet
Yeah,
parents.
because I was like, you didn't meet his mom.
Yeah,
Neither
I
one of
normally
you guys
wanna
met
meet
his
parents.
mom. But the second boyfriend,
Yeah, I want to meet.
You met his parents.
Yeah.
I think you and Andre met his parents.
I want to meet parents.
And because he came over to our house,
Yes.
and I went over to his house, and it was like a whole thing.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that was cute.
Yeah.
He was a
She
cute
said
little
that was
boyfriend.
cute.
No, because he was a cute little boyfriend. We went to the movies a couple times, and
Yeah.
it was cute. Like, it was
That's-
cute for the age. It was
Right.
age appropriate.
Right.
Like, it was a cute little situation. But yeah, so that was like those were like my first little boyfriends.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 15.
Okay.
So yeah, that was that. I felt like I was gonna say something else, but I forgot. Do you have anything to add to this topic? I feel like we hit our points.
Just along the lines of, the rebelling and being free with your kids and stuff. I just feel like I'm glad I did it that way because I feel like you and your brother were similar in that way. Your brother wasn't, going around with all these different girls, and he waited a long time. He didn't have his first girlfriend until his senior year in high school for him too. He waited a long time, and it was because probably similar. I mean, he could say better than I could, but I think it's because it wasn't a big deal. It was like...
It really wasn't.
It was like, it just... He knew that, same thing. She came over our house, and he went over there. And, it wasn't a big deal. Again, I met the parents. He met the parents. And it just,
And I feel like when you said it wasn't a big deal, I feel like that made the difference because I think you guys did everything very like age appropriate. Because like I remember in middle school, remember when there was like people that were like boyfriend and girlfriend in like 6th grade and stuff, and you were like, okay, we doing too much. Right. So it's like we weren't doing that, but it was like, okay. No. But you guys understood like, okay, when you're in high school, you're going through puberty, you're going to start liking people. And that's fine. Like, you know, do age appropriate stuff. So it was like, okay, if you guys want to go to the dance together, or you want to go to the movies, or, you know, again, age appropriate things. Right. And I feel like you guys were okay with that, and that's why, you know, we were able to do
my whole thing with my kids was I always wanted my kids to have something to look forward to later. That's why I like doing things age appropriate. Mm-hmm. Like when they would come on and say, well, so and so has it, or okay, that's them, but you're waiting, because I like my kids to do things age appropriately. So you have something to look forward to later. You know, if you do everything when you're 10, I mean, what are you gonna do when you're 16? You know what I mean? So you have nothing to look forward to when you get 16. Yeah. You know, you have nothing to look forward to when you get 21. Yeah. So, you know, if you do it all up front, well, nothing to look forward to later. Yeah. So, you know, I tried to, you know, balance it. Yeah. Yeah.
All about balance. All about
balance. Yes.
Always. Yeah. So, well, I hope that you enjoyed having the talk with us. I hope that this opened up the conversation for you and your kids, or you and your parents, your loved ones. I just feel like, you know, like I was saying earlier, it's something that is still a little bit taboo. It's still a little like hush hush, but I think it's important to have these conversations and open up so that there aren't so many stigmas. There's not so much shame and embarrassment, and, you know, we can talk freely and be safe, protect ourselves. Like, I just think it's important to like really open up these conversations. So,
and let it be comfortable. You know, we're not to sound funny, but we're all doing it. So, you know, let's
be honest.
Let's do it and be, you know, let's do it and be comfortable about it
and safe. You know,
right?
Just, Hey, and if you're not doing it, you
that's
know,
okay too.
That's great too. You know, celibate, abstinent, whatever the case
that works too.
Look, however you are choosing to do it or not do it, just know,
because that's okay too.
Right, that is great. Right, that is great. That is fine. But just, you know, as long as you're protecting yourself and taking care of yourself, that's all. That is the message for today. So please like this video if you like this video. We will be continuing to post episodes every single Sunday. Really hope that you have been enjoying the episode so far. Also, I forgot to mention this in the last episode, but if you have questions, advice, topics that you want us to discuss, please comment below. You can also email us, DM, whatever is best for you. And until next time. We have drinks.
Oh yes.
I have a little Jack and Coke today.
Yes.
So until next time, cheers.
Cheers.